I'm Aaron Goldstein. I'm here with fellow co-host Mark M. Street from the Lancaster Chamber of Commerce and our guest Robert Ugayan.
Yes,
That's from Source One.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Welcome everybody to Lancaster Chamber's radio show for today. We're glad to have you out there listening to us. We have a really cool segment coming up here right now. So I have Robert Ugayan with Source One Payroll, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the new law changes and some of what's going on about minimum law and minimum wages. So Robert, what's going on here? I know we have federal minimum wage, we have state minimum wage, we have county, we have city. Where are we at? What's going on?
So the federal minimum wage will have no effect on anyone in California because California is the United States of California. So it has its own laws, its own rules, and it will have a minimum wage much higher than the federal. So the federal minimum wage has no effect. California has a minimum wage much higher than the federal. Currently right now there's a state minimum wage, a county, unincorporated areas of Los Angeles County, and also a city of Los Angeles minimum wage. These are three markedly different numbers. You know, for example, the minimum wage for California state is $11 per hour if you have 26 or more employees. And it's all based upon employees. 25 fewer, you're paying $10.50 per hour. Coming in January of 2019, the next benchmark, it's going to be $12 per hour if you have 26 or more employees, and then if you have 25 or fewer, it's going to be $11 per hour. One of the biggest concerns I have in communicating this with people in the Antelope Valley is that there are unincorporated areas and there are Palmdale City, Lancaster City, which have different minimum wages. The unincorporated areas.
What does unincorporated mean?
Unincorporated means that it's not its own city. It's not incorporated as a city, like the city of Palmdale. You see it says established in I forget the actual date, but it's part of the county in which, you know, it's not a city on its own. Example, Quartz Hill, Pier Blossom. These are unincorporated areas of Los Angeles County that will follow the city of Los Angeles rules in regards to minimum wage. So in the city of Los Angeles, you are going to be paying $13.25 as opposed to $10.50 or $11 per hour in the county of Los Angeles if you have 26 or more employees.
And when does this go into effect?
It went into effect July 1st of 2018,
okay,
which was just a week or so ago. Yeah.
Yep.
Right. So the next benchmark will be in January of 2019. There'll be a new 26 or more to $12 per hour, and 25 or less will go to $11 per hour. The other issue I think is critical to mention are the mandatory California sick days. So again, the state of California has a 3-day minimum for sick time, whereas the city of Los Angeles has 6 mandatory sick days required to employees. So it's double what the state of California is. So again, if you're in the unincorporated areas, you are in the city of Los Angeles. If you're established in Palmdale, you'll have 3.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're working for an employer that has, they have 2 offices or 2 restaurants, one's unincorporated and let's say one's out in Quartz Hill, which is an unincorporated area of the county, and one's in Lancaster, which is its own city.
Mm-hmm.
If they're working at both places, are they going to be charged? Do they have to get separate, like, time cards and separate wages for each place they're going to work, or how does that all work out here?
Yeah. So it does not matter where your employer is based out of. It matters where you're working. So, for example, the employees in Quartz Hill will have to be paid higher than the employees that are working in Lancaster. And it goes true for your remote employees. Let's say you're a plumber or a contractor and you're paying minimum wage to someone and you have a job in the city of Los Angeles, let's say in Canoga Park. You will have to pay, if those employees are working more than 2 hours, that's the bottom line, more than 2 hours in the city of Los Angeles, they'll have to pay the city of Los Angeles minimum wage. the other aspect of this is that critical 25, 26 employee.
Mhm.
So we have, let's say you have a restaurant and your mandate to open your restaurant through your franchisor says you have to have 35 employees to open the doors based upon our rules. So you're now over 26 and you have to pay a higher minimum wage. I have a lot of questions that come to me saying, well, what if I go below that 26 mark? You are, by law, able to lower the minimum wage, you know, if you have, you
Right.
drop below the 26 employee threshold. So, but double-edged sword, you can't effectively cut your staff intentionally to get under that 25. How do they prove that? I'm not sure.
Tough to do.
Yeah, it's tough to do, so.
Now, is this, when we're talking about number of employees, are we talking about full-time, we're talking about part-time, we're talking about total employees if they work 1 hour a week? They're counted?
Total employees, correct. Total
Wow.
employees, yeah.
Okay.
Whether it's part-time, full-time, or otherwise, yes. So it does not have a designation other than employee, yeah.
So when the county does this and the state raises theirs above the feds, how does that affect your workman's comp and your taxes and that kind of stuff?
Well, everything is based in workers' comp's based on total wages. I mean, everything goes up. I mean, because it's all based and calculated on gross wages. So if the gross wages are higher, obviously your workers' comp goes up, your taxes are higher. Pretty much everything is higher. You know, it's just a it's the necessary evil.
Great way for our
Yeah.
government to give themselves a raise too, right?
Well, true. Yeah. I think that, you know, the minimum wage, you know, if you look at it, let's just take minimum wage at $11 per hour. You work 40 hours per week, that's $440. I mean,
Right.
it really is not going to buy a family of, let's say, 2 or 3, or even a single person for that matter, when an apartment is $1,000 per month. So it's really below the livable wage standard. And, you know, the ultimate goal, and let's talk about 2020, is to have everything at $20 per hour, you know, so we're going to be buying $12 Big Macs, and
Right.
you know, it's going to be,
'Cause-
everything's markedly going
Right,
to
because as a business owner,
Mhm.
if you're selling your burger and you want, at the end of the day, you want to make a fair return on your investment.
Mhm.
That's what being an entrepreneur is all about, is
Sure.
making that fair return.
Mhm.
So if your minimum wage keeps going up, then you're just going to turn around and increase your sales price on your product or service.
Right,
But
right,
you can't get around it because you still, I mean, otherwise you're working for nothing. Why be in business?
correct,
Right? You can't make that
correct.
profit there.
And I wanted to correct myself, because it's not $20 per hour. In 2020, it's going to be $15 per
Okay.
hour.
Okay.
So that's where it's going to cap out, but I believe that there'll be new legislation,
Oh.
new rule, and it's going to go to
By 2020, they'll have
17.
new. Yeah, they'll
Yeah.
keep adding to it. so-
Exactly, exactly. So, and these also break down for people that may have locations in Long Beach or in other areas. Pasadena, for example, they have a separate minimum wage, even from the city of Los Angeles minimum wage. So you have to be careful. On our website, you can go to if you're a part of our organization and a client of Source One, we have a HR program that you can actually go on to, click the state of California and pull up the area, type in Pasadena, and it will tell you exactly what the minimum wage is and what
Nice.
is the future growth of that minimum wage. So we're trying to create an algorithm in the system that has a timed and by date, and it will say your zip code is X, and your minimum wage will automatically increase. Right now, we have to, of course, keep our eyes on that.
True. Now, are there also different regulations or policies as far as, I mean, I know we said sick days are
Mhm.
different from state
Right.
requirements.
Right.
How about like leaves of absence or maternity leaves or those does the county have unincorporated parts, or the city of Los Angeles, do they have different benefit packages that are you seeing, and is that a trend you're seeing?
Fortunately, no. But there are, so if you're a company with 50 employees or more, you are dealing with a whole new set of rules than a company with 25 employees. So Fair Labor Management
Right.
Act, the FMLA, states that, family leave and all these other things come into play. People on disability, you have to keep your job open for them. If you have 5 employees and a person on disability will affect or impact your business, then you have the right to release and replace that person. It's not always recommended, but but it is within your rights to do so. It's just one of those things that it's government. coming in and making the rules for us, and it's costing the employer. The next one is mandatory 401k contributions being made
Yes,
by the
yes.
employer. I mean, this
Right,
is
right,
all
right.
coming
It's
down the
coming-
pike.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. So just to quickly recap, so businesses that are in unincorporated areas in the LA County
Mhm.
that are not part of like inside the city limits of Palmdale or Lancaster,
Correct.
up here in the Antelope Valley, we're talking.
Mhm.
Their minimum wage starting July 1st has now gone from
$10.50 to $11 per hour.
right. And if you have employees that are, if your business is in the city, but they're working outside of the city limits, you're gonna have to pay them the prevailing wage of $11 an hour.
Correct. Correct. Right.
And then people that are in the city,
In the
still-
city, yeah, in the city of Los Angeles or the unincorporated areas.
right,
Okay, let's back up. That's $12 per hour for the city of Los Angeles if you are 26 employees or more.
right,
I recommend everyone go to the website. There is the Consumer Affairs Wage Enforcement Division
Yep.
has a what is my wage, minimum wage. It's a website, and you can go to that, put in your zip code, and it will tell you what your minimum wage is for your particular work site.
super, cool.
Yeah.
So we're gonna wrap up, we're gonna come back in a few minutes, and we're gonna talk to Robert a little bit more, he's gonna stick around with me. We're gonna talk about Source One Payroll and why you need to talk to him. If you have a business and you wanna have your payroll done right, you need to talk to Robert, so we'll be back in just a few. Hey, that's right, we're back, and we're glad to have you guys out there. We're gonna be talking, Robert, about Source One Payroll and why, if you're a business owner, you're a business manager, why you need to have a payroll service. So I hope you're not doing this all on your own. There's a lot of things that can go wrong doing payroll if you're doing it yourself. So Robert, give us why should someone call Source One?
Well, Source One Payroll, first of all, is a human capital management company. It's not just a payroll processing company anymore. I think that there are many arms and legs to the whole employment scenario. So from hire to retire is really our philosophy. So recruiting applicants, tracking applicants throughout the process of interviewing and background checks, and then hiring them, making sure you're getting the proper documentation. Some of the forms that people just don't really pay attention to are having a proper documented I-9 form. I mean, this is critical, especially now Homeland Security, our
Yeah.
President Donald Trump is really trying to tighten things up. And having the eligibility to work in the United States is being determined by that form.
And that I-9, if you mess up that I-9, there are some serious repercussions. There's some heavy-duty fines
Correct.
that can be levied on you if you don't cross your T's and dot your I's.
Right. If you don't have those forms available, and if they're not filled out correctly, I've seen companies be levied in the hundreds of thousands of
Yes,
dollars.
yes,
yes,
yes.
for
Yeah, you can get
not having one
$1,000
yeah,
per I-9 that's incorrectly
right.
not filled out. I mean, it's big. And if you're a small business,
Mm-hmm. That's huge. It's put people out of business. But some, you really just have to pay attention to a few things, and these are the items that we'll bring to the table and make you aware of, and make sure that we're covering all aspects of the employment hiring process. During the process of after you hire the employee, I mean, are we properly paying them? Wage and hour, big issue, especially in California. Overtime, determination of employee independent contractor. There's a big one.
oh my God.
Yeah, so
they've just changed that again.
yes,
right?
so now I just read an article saying I think the independent contractor status is dead in California.
I read
And
that too.
yeah, so it's a very pro-employee state. They feel like the employers are out to get every employee, and they're buckling down. And I think the number was about 160,000 new Department of Labor agents are being deployed out to the field to find companies who are not properly paying their employees, 8 hours in a day, 40 hours in a week for overtime, proper break time violations. So we put together some technology for small companies. You got 5 employees, you're going to need a time clock. You need to defend yourself. So having a time clock to monitor lunch breaks, for example, for your employees. Did they take a proper lunch break? And what's a proper lunch break? 30 minutes
Right.
of uninterrupted time. I'll give you a quick example. Security guard outside of a bank. he's watching the door and he's just making sure that there's a presence. He takes his lunch break to the back room and he goes back there and he pulls out his tuna fish sandwich and starts eating it. But up in the right-hand corner of this room is a monitor of the front door. And he is looking at the monitor and eating his lunch. Well, he is not uninterrupted from his, and this guy won a judgment against a bank for over $100,000 because he was not properly given his lunch break.
And it's tough. I mean, I used to be in the hotel industry, and you have your front desk is manned 24/7.
Right.
Well, the guy that works graveyard shift from like 11 to 7, and you can't have lunch break at 11, and you can't have it at 7.
Right.
So it has to be between those 8 hours of his work time. You can't put the very last with the very front. Well, everybody else goes home. He's there by himself.
Right.
You know, and you might be able to lock the door, but still, if the phone rings,
He's got to work.
he's got to answer the phone.
Right.
So you got to, okay, fine, you got to give him extra 5 minutes, or you have to figure out how to
Or
do
an hour.
that, or an hour.
Give him an hour's worth of penalty time for not
Right.
getting up. Yeah. So, but getting in front of those things is critical. I mean, so
Absolutely.
understanding it and making sure. So yes, if I do have to pay you through your lunch, you're going to get paid. The other issue is also is the break time. Break time violations now for the 10-minute paid break.
Right, that 10-minute break.
Yeah, that one is on the employee. That one they kind of loosened up a little bit and made it the employee's responsibility to make sure that they take that 10-minute break. You don't have to beat them over the head. But the lunch break you do. It's a responsibility of the employer.
Of the employer,
Right.
right.
So I think you might have noticed you go to a restaurant and it's like you have a waiter and then a few minutes later they go, hey, this is Cindy. She's taking over for me because I'm going on my break. That is due to that Brinker law that was back in 2008. That's when it passed. Mhm.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
But
What
Source
else?
One, yeah, so we're able to provide you with all of the regulations and rules and the technology to monitor everything that you want to make sure that if someone were to come knock on your door, you have answers to. More importantly, we have the ability to process, calculate, file all of the complex taxes and thresholds that are met during the course of a payroll through technology. It's pretty simple. But having a company behind you that can answer questions, pick up the phone, be able to have a clear understanding of your question and give you a good answer is, I think, the most important issue at all. A live person to answer questions.
Right. I mean, I think just the tax filing part is so important to know that it's done properly and done right. And again, I mean, you're looking at penalties and interest and everything else when they go after you, and when the state goes after you, you lose.
And they're not cheap penalties.
And
And these are critical.
And you can't sit there and say, I didn't know that.
Right.
Oh, okay, so I
Ignorance
just pay
is
a little
not-
bit more and we can work it out? No. No, you pay them more, you pay
Right.
the penalties, you pay the interest and everything else, and you go on from there. So it's reassuring to have that service, that and it backs you up too. I mean, you take the responsibility of,
Right.
of making sure it's filed on time and correctly.
Right.
And I think that's huge. So when someone's processing their payroll through your company, how does that work?
So you can have many different modes of communicating with us. We have a program that is cloud-based that you can log into. You can review your time punches for your employees, resolve exceptions, be able to approve that time. From the time of approval, it gets processed, you get a preview of what it looks like, and then you just hit a button that says print. And your payroll will then come to us, bells and whistles go off, and we say, okay, the ABC company's payroll's in, and we print it, package it, make sure it's correct, make sure you didn't pay someone $1 million, and then we ship that to you. So you can have a package delivered, or we can do a green payroll, which most people adopt now because of direct deposit being the mode of paying your employees. So you could have an email come to you saying your payroll's here, you get all your documents. Your employees have a mobile app saying, cha-ching, you got paid last night,
Okay.
click here to view your paycheck stub. And you can view your paycheck stub on our mobile application. Opt out of the paper. We still have to provide a paper stub to them, but you can opt out of that. So,
Providing a paper stub, that's still a law that says you must
Yes.
provide them with a paper stub. But you
unless
also
they
do
can
the-
opt out. Unless they
Unless
opt
they
out.
opt out.
Yeah.
Unless they
Mhm.
sign off.
They agree on it. And then from that point, making sure that, you have the proper workers' comp numbers to give to the workers' compensation company. I think a lot of companies don't realize the state of California last year, January 1st, implemented a new filing law. You can't file a paper DE-9.
Right,
You have to
right.
file it electronically. So unless you've got the time, the energy, the savvy, the other things, to go onto the Employment Development Department's website, upload a .csv file that is properly formatted, and then submit it timely, you will then be charged $50 per employee that you did not properly submit timely. So
You submit one form,
you submit one form.
but if you have 100 employees, you get 100 penalties.
Correct, if it's not done timely. Yeah.
Huh.
It's considered, they
Wow.
call it almost a profit center. You know, they call it a profit center for themselves because they know they're gonna be 5 guys at Joe's garage that doesn't, you know, and 5 employees, and this guy is not gonna employ someone to do this.
Yeah, right.
Even bookkeepers, using QuickBooks, all these DIY products that are out there, require someone to push that button. We'll
Correct.
pick your hand up and push it for you if we have to. I mean, but you just have to call us on the phone and say, hey, Robert, Deanna, whomever, you know, we're done, we're ready to process our payroll. We take it from there, and we
Right,
make sure it's
right.
right, delivered, and everyone's happy.
Right. And the other thing is that, I mean, I think using electronic, you know, like a QuickBooks, those are great, but you also have to make sure that you're following up on the latest laws.
Mhm. Right.
You have to always update your database for your taxes
Mhm.
and your benefits and everything else that goes in there.
Right.
That when they make changes, you got to be aware of it. You just
Mhm.
can't sit there and just be oblivious to us as an owner. You have to be up on every one of those
Correct.
regulations. So that's a nice part about using a payroll service is you're helping us do that.
Right.
You're keeping us on
And we're
task.
educating you in the meantime too. We'll
Right.
send you, hey, new law change, here's your information. Another great example are our poster programs. So you have a subscription to the federal and state posters. If something changes, you get an automatic email update. You get a new poster to put on the wall by FedEx next day, and you're in compliance. If not, that's a $1,000 fine if they walk in and say, hey, let me see your
Where's
poster.
your
Yeah,
Right.
boom.
Right.
They're all about fining right now. I mean, they need to make money. California needs money, and they're coming after it.
The budget has a surplus, but we need to make more money.
Right, of course. of
That's a
course.
whole different
Yeah,
segment. We can spend
that's
another
right.
20 minutes on that one, which we're not doing today.
Right.
Cool. So
Mhm.
we're going to wrap up. We got another minute to go here, but talking about payroll services and why it's a great thing to use and to make your life. If you're a business owner, a business manager out there, and you're processing payroll, I mean, it's stressful doing it, and it's stressful making sure it's done right and filed correctly. I know the chamber uses Source One as
Yeah.
our payroll processing
Right.
service.
Mhm.
I mean, we looked at doing, you know, we use QuickBooks. We looked at using their program, and bottom line to me, it's I like that security, knowing that my payroll is being done properly and correctly and on time. And I don't worry about those times that my DE-9s aren't submitted on time, and because my book here, my accountant is, you know, on vacation for a week.
Right.
I mean, it's not on my calendar to do it.
No, right.
It's on hers, but it's not on mine. So I want to
Right.
make sure that everything's done right. So,
Correct.
Robert, we appreciate you coming in here
No
today.
problem. Yes.
We can find Source One how?
At www.source1payroll, and one is spelled out O-N-E, payroll.com, or call us at 888-622-4746.
Right. You have an office right here in Lancaster?
On Business Center Parkway, yes,
Awesome.
right across from K8 and next to where the old Bank of America used to be.
Yeah, where the big
Yeah.
processing place was.
Mhm.
Cool.
Yes.
I think we're it for time, so we'll be back in a bit.